Let's see, for president, Jill Stein, Thomas Hoefling, Mitt Romney, Gary Johnson, Barack Obama. Oh, we're doing a TV show. There's minutes left in my life as an undecided voter. Got my California ballot right here. It's early voting night here on The Last Word. And this California ballot is so complicated. I've got like, I don't know, 14 pieces of legislation in here that I have to vote on, and I understand maybe 2 of them. So I have flown in a California governor to help me with this. A former California governor is going to have to do this work for me. Early voting night on The Last Word.
We are just 11 days out from the election.
With 11 days left in this campaign, 11 days left. Mitt Romney's latest description of himself:
running on a message of change.
What this requires is change. Big change. Change, 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 change.
Leave me alone, I don't have any change.
Not change, it's just Bush.
There's just not much there.
He'll apparently stick to giving speeches like he did today.
What this requires is change.
Can you really trust Mitt Romney? Trust matters.
Trust versus change?
We need real change.
Republicans are going right back to the old, ugly playbook.
John Sununu.
John Sununu.
John Sununu on Colin Powell.
When you have somebody of your own race that you're proud of being president of the United States, I applaud Colin for standing with him.
A race-based endorsement was the accusation there.
Congratulations, John Sununu. You've now stooped down to the level of Rush Limbaugh.
Does it take Mitt Romney off message?
It's a complete unforced error for Team Romney.
Have the moral courage to stand up and say what they said was wrong. Of course, if you refuse to let the media ask you questions, you never have to worry about giving them answers.
President Obama will hit the interview circuit today.
The Obama team clearly is relying on them.
Doing a total of 10 different interviews.
All about targeting young voters there.
All the pieces are moving.
We're basically down to the turnout operation.
Ground game, advertising, campaign stops.
Obama's the one who's working it harder.
11 days left, and 11 days left in this campaign. Every move counts right now.
Are you fired up? Are you ready to go?
With just 11 days until the election, which of course means 12 days until John Sununu climbs back into his cave, and with only minutes left in which Mitt Romney can convince me to vote for him, Mitt Romney remains silent today about his favorite crazy people. Mitt Romney hasn't answered a single question about the only Senate candidate he has done a campaign ad for, the candidate who said this.
I think even when life begins in that horrible situation of rape, that it is something that God intended to happen.
Today, a reporter asked Romney campaign senior advisor Eric Fernstrom why the campaign has not asked Murdoch to pull the television ad featuring Mitt Romney's endorsement. Fernstrom said, "That's his decision." Today in Wisconsin, Vice President Joe Biden had this to say about Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan.
They can't even get up the gumption to condemn the statements made by 2 of their candidates for the United States Senate. It's not enough to tell me you don't agree. It's have the moral courage to stand up and say what they said was wrong, simply wrong.
Today, Mitt Romney did not address what his campaign national co-chair, John Sununu, said last night about Colin Powell's endorsement of President Obama.
You have to wonder whether that's an endorsement based on issues or whether he's got a slightly different reason for preferring President Obama.
What reason would that be?
Well, I think when you have somebody of your own race that you're proud of being president of the United States, I applaud Colin for standing with him.
What reason would that be, was the question, and John Sununu issued this lie today. Colin Powell is a friend, and I respect the endorsement decision he made, and I do not doubt that it was based on anything but his support of the president's policies. Piers Morgan's question was whether Colin Powell should leave the party, and I don't think he should. President Obama responded today.
I don't think that there are many people in America who would question General Powell's credibility, his patriotism, his willingness to tell it straight. And so any suggestion that General Powell would make such a profound statement in such a important election based on anything than what he thought was what's going to be best for America, I think doesn't make much sense.
Today, the Republican-leaning Chicago Tribune endorsed a Democrat for president for only the second time in its over 164 years of existence. The first time was Barack Obama in 2008. On questions of economics and limited government, the Chicago Tribune has forged principles that put us closer to the challenger in this race, Republican Mitt Romney. Bolstered by his steadiness in office, cognizant of the vast unfinished business before him, we endorse the re-election of Barack Obama. A CNN poll of Ohio likely voters has President Obama leading Mitt Romney now by 4 points, 50-46. A New England College poll of New Hampshire likely voters has President Obama leading Mitt Romney by 3 points in Johnson and News State, 49-46. Tonight, Nate Silver of the New York Times 538 blog forecasts that on November 6th, President Obama has a 74% chance of winning re-election, an over 13-point increase in the last 2 weeks. Nate Silver projects President Obama will win 295 electoral college votes and Mitt Romney will win 243. So, crystal ball, we are 12 days away from the ugliest creature that Mitt Romney has dragged into the presidential campaign, John Sununu.
Yes.
Finding his way back into his cave in New Hampshire. He was driven out of Washington in scandal when he was the White House chief of staff for the first President Bush. The man was driven out in scandal, and it took Mitt Romney to drag him back in front of television cameras.
It's been such a bizarre choice. I mean, he is the person that they put forward the most. He is their lead surrogate, and it is such a strange choice for his campaign. And this is not the first time that he's stepped in it and stepped in it on racial issues. He's the one who had to apologize for saying the president needs to learn how to be an American. He's the one that called the president lazy after the first debate. I mean, this guy has really been more of a liability. And on the Colin Powell endorsement, I mean, it was an important endorsement, but it was likely to be a one-day story. John Sununu has ensured that we have a reason to continue talking about how important Colin Powell's endorsement is for another day.
And then, Ari, he thinks he can put out the lie about what the question was. Right. That was not the question. We played the question. The question is, why do you think he endorsed him?
I think he forgot that he was on TV when he made these remarks. I think.
No, I think the game with them is we don't care.
Right.
We don't care. We're kind of glad he said it. We like racial messaging in the campaign, and we're going to issue an apology that won't actually be an apology because the media kind of demands that in the way they do business. And so we'll put this thing out there, and oh, by the way, we'll just lie in the apology and the clarification.
It's taken out of context.
Yeah, because that's their game.
Right. I mean, and that's what makes it worse, really, is that it is such a nod and wink. This did come up last cycle when Colin Powell endorsed. I mean, I remember George Will went on a Sunday show and made a very similar suggestion. The one silver lining to all this is that the traditional media has gotten better at calling out the dog whistles in real time. And I do think, although you're absolutely right about how weak the spinning non-apology was, the fact that they had to say anything reflects the fact that they're getting called on this stuff.
President Obama didn't get to Ohio today, but he did some Ohio TV via satellite from Washington. Let's listen to that.
When you break down Governor Romney's approach, it won't add jobs, it won't reduce our deficit, and so there's just not much there.
And the television ads now are pouring out fast and furious. There's a new Obama re-election ad starring Jay-Z, which we better look at right away.
For so long, there was a voice that was silenced out there, you know, as far as exercising the right to vote. I think it was a voice that was silent because people had lost hope. They didn't believe that their voice mattered or counted. You know, we thought it was just politics, people going back and forth, and at the end of the day, it never trickled down to where we lived. Now people exercising their right, and you starting to see the power of our vote. He made it mean something for the first time for a lot of people. Having someone in office who understands how powerful our voice can be is very important.
Crystal, obviously not a policy persuasion ad, a turnout ad.
A turnout ad, an inspiration ad, a recapture the magic kind of ad. And you know what? It looks like those efforts are working. If you look at Georgia, obviously not a swing state or a battleground state, African-American turnout is on pace to be at record historic levels, higher even than 2008. So it looks like these efforts to remind people of how important their vote is, how their vote could be the difference, how important it is to have that voice, it seems to be breaking through.
But also, and Jay-Z is an ad, obviously, that resonates with African Americans in the hip-hop community, but it's also a big youth ad. I mean, this is a very famous person who's part of American royalty. Jay-Z is a model of American...
Show business royalty.
Show business royalty. And Jay-Z is a model of American success, which doesn't mean that you didn't do anything wrong in your life or face adversity. It means that you won. I mean, he raps about saying, basically, I can't help the poor if I'm one of them. I got rich and gave back. That's a win-win. I mean, this is American capitalism and American success with a social contract. He raps about that. He supported Obama for those reasons, both personal and policy. And I think it's really strong because this is someone that people trust. He's credible. And it says something to me that's really amazing about where we are in America, that you can take a person who did struggle with drugs and other things on the streets but has built himself up and hold him out as what Obama says in that ad, as a model of the American dream. I mean, I think that's great.
Mitt Romney stepped in it on the auto issue today in Ohio, talking about Jeep. Let's listen to this.
I saw a story today that one of the great manufacturers in this state, Jeep, now owned by the Italians, is thinking of moving all production to China. I will fight for every good job in America.
Okay, so Chrysler Corporation then issues this statement. Jeep has no intention of shifting production of its Jeep models out of North America to China. It's simply reviewing the opportunities to return Jeep output to China for the world's largest auto market. A careful and unbiased reading of the Bloomberg take would have saved unnecessary fantasies. So Bloomberg had this piece about maybe jobs to China, and they weren't saying that. It's saying maybe they could expand and do some business in China. And
it's actually a success story.
So here
They're
you have this giant corporation that is completely uninhibited about simply referring to what Romney's saying as unnecessary fantasies.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm no Pollyanna here, right? I am the first person to call on Democrats when they're getting too moralistic and not willing to get in the dirt and the mud in politics. But the way that Mitt Romney has run this campaign has been disgusting. No regard for the facts, no regard for the truth, willing to say anything, just as you were alluding to with John Sununu, willing to say anything that serves his purpose at the moment, and relying on the fact that he's not going to get called down on it and that most people are going to hear the initial claim and not the fact check. It's really disturbing, especially in a situation like this where he's talking to people whose jobs are literally on the line and stoking fear with them. It's unbelievable.
President Obama picking up a bunch of newspaper editorial endorsements in swing states, the Las Vegas Sun, the Miami Herald, and then also in the Detroit paper, they endorsed Mitt Romney, but said he was wrong about the auto bailout. They were lucky they had the president they did back then. Crystal Ball and Ari Melber, thank you both for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Coming up, early voting in Ohio and early voting right here in The Last Word. I'm going to fill out my California ballot, the most complicated ballot you've ever seen. Joy Reid's in Ohio reporting for us tonight. And in the rewrite, why Lena Dunham has Rush Limbaugh imagining what he'd be like if he was a woman. And I'm sure it's not the first time he's imagined that.